So, what got you in the video games?
Jesus. One Christmas, they got me a PS2, a PlayStation
Nice.
2. That's what got me into it. And then it wasn't until later in life purposely sought out gaming as an art form.
I was a very introverted kid and very hyper. The way I got distracted was playing video games.
What was the first game that got you into gaming?
This is one of the best moments ever in my life when it came to gaming. What is up, guys?
Hello, hello.
Welcome to another episode of Digital Quest, the video game podcast, where we dive into the world of gaming and talk about what is hot and what is not.
Definitely, yeah. We're talking about the latest games, retro, new, and also this is a human podcast for human people. We want to talk about our experiences, why we like video games, gaming. So that's what we're here. That's what we're gonna do.
Yes, we are not robots.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So my name is Mike.
Yep, I'm also Mike.
And so welcome. Hopefully y'all can join us in on another great episode. And what have we been up to? You want to start first?
I kind of did a little cross country trip with my wife this past week. It was my birthday, did a little small thing, and during that trip I went to several GameStops, and on one of them I found the Silent Hill 2 headset. I do highly recommend. I should have done an unboxing.
Oh yeah.
I felt like I should have done one.
Right, and then done an ASMR on it, but like the
yeah
unboxing.
Very nice, very pleasant, very demure.
Whisper into it. I want to hear your voice.
Yeah. Stop. No. So I picked this up. I'm very, very satisfied with it. I think it's very good for the cost.
Who's the brand behind it? Is it? I know is it GameStop exclusive?
It is a GameStop exclusive. I'm not too sure the brand behind it. I wasn't too hot on,
I think it might be like because I remember it was. I think it's just GameStop. I think GameStop produced it, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I think that's the last time that I saw
I
it.
could look it up on the back end, but anyway. So yeah, no, I got this headset, and then on top of that, a little birdie gave me a birthday gift, Black Ops 6. I am very appreciative. Thank you. I appreciate it. And
You still have yet to pick it up, but I will take it to you. I will if I have to.
Yeah, just throw it through the window.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's getting a lot of good reviews, but I'll save that discussion for later. And that's basically it. I'm excited to do this episode. I think you, the guys, people watching this, will be in for a treat.
Yeah. It's so definitely the way that this. I think this is kind of how I'm looking at it. Anytime we use this type of format where it looks a little bit different than when we traditionally, like in person, like when we're doing our in-person thing, it's going to be more of a interview format or, just round table talking with other people. And so that, I guess, would be an indicator so far. I mean, we'll play it out as we go. I don't want to keep harping that we're changing our video every time, but I mean, just for people that are looking at this, if it looks different, then obviously there's a reason why it's looking like this, and which we will go into here in a minute. And but yeah, I really want to talk about Black Ops before we start our segment, because my God, like I have not been this excited for a Call of Duty game since Modern Warfare 2. Now, and the original. Like I remember specifically when that came out. I forgot the year, but like GameStop had a midnight release, and I would love to go to. I loved to go to those events, and I remember waiting in line, the excitement. They had all the competitions going on the inside with their monitors and everything, and then when I got home to play it, I literally grinded from like 12 to about 3 in the morning, even though I had to work the next day, and I'm like, it's so much fun. I forgot what that map was, where the sand level, and it was like that main structure in the middle. Rust. Yes, yeah, that one.
That's where boys became men. If you and your brother or your friend had a dispute, you settled it at Rust.
Yeah. Oh man, dude. Yeah.
So 360 no scopes only.
Yeah. Yeah. But dude, what I was really hoping for, and that I was 98% sure that it was going to succeed, was the omnidirectional movement.
Yeah,
That new
yeah.
mechanic that they brought in, because Fortnite has it, and it feels good, and then a lot of these other games are starting to adopt it. I think Mirror's Edge actually had this at one point. That was an old 360 game, and the
Hmm.
parkour one,
Right.
and but when you're dude when you're moving around, it's hard to explain because I got one of our friends into it, and he like hated Call of Duty for the longest time. And I was like, dude, you have to try this. I mean,
Yeah.
just it's hard. I can explain it to only to a point, but you have to play it to actually know what I'm talking about. Because the moment that I held the controller and I started moving around, I'm like, oh, this is
It's
such
fluid.
oh, this is like butter, dude. It's like amazing. And they freaking threw away, or they took out the stamina aspect where like you would slow down because of your stamina.
No,
And so
it's
now
infinite.
it's just like straight up infinite running. I'm like, oh, this is so great. Now I can freaking run around as much as I want. I can freaking go and like blast them and everything. It's
So this is
amazing.
for zombies, or is this also multiplayer? Do you know?
This is everything.
Oh
So
wow.
I've been playing campaign. I'm a campaign guy, right? So the
Same,
campaign
same.
is really it's really good. The campaign's really good. They have a lot of elements where they take a piece of different things that they've done in the past,
Hmm.
and so I like what they're doing. I've only gotten about like maybe an hour and a half in, so but I'm liking it, and the multiplayer is great. I only play team deathmatch and free for all, at least as of right now, because some of those search and destroys they're kind of, I want to work my way up there, but
We'll get
I
you
just like
there.
to go
We'll get
straight
you there.
into the killing. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I've been doing pretty good, man. Like I've been getting like second place, and I think one time I got one first place, but I've always been in the top three. So I'm like, I've never been
Right.
this. It's probably because I'm playing with a lot of the lower ranked people, but like I've always typically kind of sucked at these games,
Right.
and but this is where like the movement comes into play, because like my accuracy with like shooting people is a lot better now on the PS5 with this whole omnidirectional thing. It just
Right.
feels a lot better in my reaction time. So how I want to get to do certain things is just it's so good. I can
So you're
talk about
enjoying
it.
it. That's the key thing.
It's like,
You're enjoying it.
oh, it's so good.
Yeah. Let's turn that
Yeah,
face into a
but
meme, people. Come on. Uh,
yeah,
yeah. No. That's certainly awesome. I've heard a lot of people say things like akin to that, where it kind of reminds them of the original Black Ops, and
mm,
and the original Modern Warfare 2. Now those two are in a perpetual tie for being like the best Call of Duty ever. So if you're saying that this game is anything like either of those, that is like very high praise. And I'll be very honest with you. It's kind of good that you bought it for me, because I was actually thinking of skipping this year. I,
oh
I,
my god,
I almost thought of, so I skipped like half of the life cycle of Modern Warfare 3, because there was like a very shortened campaign. They tried shoehorning zombies into the
eh,
battle royale system, and I'm big into story, so I kind of mentioned story, but just want to add that in there. And it seems like at the beginning of most of these life cycles, it starts off very boots in the ground, military, like faction versus faction, and then eventually they get into the cosmetics, like the Fortnite-esque bright and colorful,
yeah,
like
yeah,
unicorns versus Spetsnaz and shit. I don't like that. In Modern Warfare 3, it basically allowed you to import all of your purchases from Modern Warfare 2. So it's immediately from day one, you had unicorns versus Teletubbies and stuff like that. So I didn't like that. I became very skeptical about the direction Call of Duty was going, but it's a good thing that you got it. And looking at all these reviews, it's like, oh my god, even IGN is super like positive about it. In IGN,
yeah,
it's usually
yeah.
you have to add 2 points to whatever score they're giving, because they're basically pessimistic like
Yeah.
assholes.
There were some comments that mentioned, which kind of hits it on the head. It's like, it's surprising, like, what, if you're allowed a great amount of time to make a game, how great it can come out to be.
Yeah,
At least to focus on it, right? Like, without all these deadlines and all that stuff that they have to meet. So I don't know how long they've been working on it, but it's definitely paid off, with the
additional
output on
time.
it. Hmm.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm excited to play it. Yeah,
So yeah,
especially the story. Oh my god.
yeah, but just to close, like zombies is actually pretty good too. It handholds you a little bit more. I mean, but it's cool for people that want to actually beat the story, and not really if they don't have a lot of time to go and hunt for Easter eggs, and then they just want to get straight to the point of beating the level. And I believe the developers said that we're going to have that hand-holding mode for the newbies, but then they were going to make another mode to where for the seasoned people that they can find out on their own, like to hunt for those Easter eggs. So
Right.
I don't know how long it's going to take. They're probably going to do it on the next patch, or I don't know if it's out right now, but I doubt it.
Hey,
I haven't
but
played
you know
too
what
much
we're
of it.
gonna
I've
be
been
doing?
playing.
We
Yeah,
we
yeah.
gotta complete the story. Yeah.
Dude, I played the map where you can ride the boat and you come across all the like it's open world, like it's amazing. And you can literally climb on anything and everything if you can technically reach it. And dude, that is so much better. I used to hate when I couldn't climb on a specific something. I'm like, it's right there.
Yeah,
I can
it's like
literally jump on it, but and
yeah,
it doesn't
no,
let you.
yeah, and the old
Invisible
school
walls.
yeah, the death walls exactly. That's right. Yeah, so it's like why would you make the pixels for it and make it so easy to mount, but you don't
Yeah,
want me
yeah.
to. So yeah, so it's good that they did that.
Yeah. So all in all, really good, man. I mean, I can't wait for you to start playing it.
I'm super
But
excited. Thank you so much again for getting at it. Hopefully by the
y-
come the next episode I can give a little bit more input. But yeah, I'm hearing great stuff about it.
yeah.
Um,
For sure. So if you hear any background noise on my side, it's my son's going haywire right now. He's we're trying to give him a bath, and he's just not having it right now. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
just for people that are listening, if they can hear it, and so yeah, let's go into the what the whole purpose of this episode is going to be. I mean,
Sure.
we're already what, like 10 episodes in, which
Yeah.
is a pretty good milestone for us. I mean,
It's
from
amazing.
from the very beginning, I was already expecting. Like I had a goal set to where I was like, I want to hit 10 episodes at least, and let's just hope that this works. And then as we started doing each episode, we started learning different things, and we actually now, I mean, from my perspective, I love doing this. It's fun, and I mean, you could probably. You've talked about it a lot,
Yeah.
It's fun just kind of sitting around talking about video games and kind
We
of
were going to do this anyway. Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so while we are 10 episodes in, we actually never even stopped to like talk about ourselves and discuss like who we are, why you should listen to us, and why who are these people? Like these guys are just showing up out of nowhere and trying to do a gaming podcast, and they don't do we know what we're talking about? Do we not know what we're talking about? I think we do.
Yeah.
But yeah,
get
I
to,
mean,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I
get
just
to
wanted
peek
to
behind the curtain and see who we
Yeah.
are. And, yeah.
Yeah, it's the what's it called? I was thinking of the Wizard of Oz in the back of my head, but that's
Yeah,
old school,
yeah,
but
yeah, basically.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna come up with something cool, but that would have been lame. But anyways, I'm not gonna go.
It's all good. It's all
Yeah.
good.
So yeah, I mean the what we wanted to do and bring to y'all guys is and girls is kind of do like our little round table. Sorry, what would it be? Like a not round base. That sounds more like college.
Kind of like an interview. I mean, I don't know if it's
Yeah.
fair to say, but like it's
Duo
kind of like
interview.
it's kind of like a it's like a two-way interview. It's kind of like a meet and greet.
There you go. That's what I was thinking of.
So we've worked together basically for the last year, Mike and
Mm-hmm.
I, and there's still some things that we're still learning about each other, but also like we want you, the people, to learn about us again as individuals, and like as you already found out right now, if you didn't already know, other Mike, has a family, he has a son, that like we're human beings, right? And we do this out of love. We game out of love, and so we're doing this for fun, and we want you to share in that. So to better, cross that divide, we wanted to do this. I guess a two-way interview is probably the best way to describe
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So two-way interview. Yeah, that is the best way. My brain's all poo brain right now. I can't even think of the right terminology. But
You're good.
but yeah, it's we want to just show the kind of authenticity and relatability to people that like what you hit on the head is like we are normal people. We have jobs. We are trying to do this on the side, and we want to show you that you can do it as well. I mean, there's a lot of creators out there that tell you, but they're already seasoned at doing what they're doing, which is awesome because they can give you their experiences on their successes and their failures. I mean, we are trying to take you on our journey, which is why we came up with the name of Digital Quest, is like to take you on our quest to show you that we are starting, and we want to show you that we can make it happen as we are making these episodes. So being pretty straightforward with everybody. But yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, so what we're going to be doing is is basically taking turns asking each other questions on, our backgrounds or just learning. We're basically just treat this as we had just met. Let's learn about each other and
Absolutely.
kind of go from there.
I guess do you kind of want to just take it away and just like introduce like I guess more about who you are when the camera goes off and the mic turns off. Like tell us about Mike Benavides. Like who is he? What does he do? Who is
Yeah.
your daddy? What does he do?
Who's your daddy? What does he do?
It's not a tumor. It's not a tumor at all.
Yeah.
No. So
So yeah, my name is Michael Benavides, right? And so my background and where I come from is I'm actually a cybersecurity engineer expert by day, and then gamer slash musician by night. That's the best way to explain it. I mean, the my passions that I hold very dearly to myself is this is all besides my core principles, which is obviously being a great dad, being a great husband, and taking care of my family. And
Right.
so, on my personal hobbies that I loved and I keep dear to my heart is music and video games. And I've been this way for like the longest time, and um, I I just gravitate towards those things. And even though there are times whenever I get just tired of gaming, I just can't get tired of it. Like it has a very dear place in my heart where I just have to always play. It's almost like reading books. Like people who love to read books, and this is the way I always kind of explain it.
Yeah.
Is it's like
everyone needs
that,
their outlet.
yeah, and I love playing games because one, it helps me learn, and then two, it helps me dive into worlds that I always would love to like get into, because I for the longest time I always had trouble reading books, which is why I always gravitate towards video games. Is and
Experience
so
the story. Don't
yeah.
just read it. Experience it. Yeah, I'm all
Mhm.
there.
And so yeah, I mean that's a little bit about myself. We can kind of dive in a little bit more, but what about you, Mike?
So my name is Michael Schlater. I live in Corpus Christi. Don't have a family yet, but that's probably who knows that may change in the immediate future. I am an attorney by day, podcaster, and gamer by night. Attorney wise, I am a prosecutor, so that means I typically I work as I represent the government at different levels. It really depends where I'm at any given point. I've represented the county for what that we live in. I've represented the city of Corpus Christi itself, and and that's constantly evolving as different opportunities show up here and there. But in the end, it all comes down to like justice. I love the concept of justice, doing what's right. A lot of people think government, Big Brother and all that stuff, and it's good to be very skeptical. I purposely go out of my way to remove that image, and I want people to trust in the people that they put their lives, put their lives in the hands of, right? So I like to help the little guy, basically. So I've been doing that for the last 3 years, and it's my honor to continue doing that. And when I hang up the coat and the tie and take off the glasses, I go home and I play video games. I freaking love video games. It's an art form. I do play for the fun of it, but I also play it to enjoy the art of it. And then of course to network and communicate, and to like hopefully if we play Black Ops 6, which I think we will hopefully, it's to that is how the people who are close to me and that I care about, that is how we keep in touch, by playing and experiencing stories. So that's just a very overview.
It's when you were saying justice, I was trying not to laugh because I was like, justice.
No. Yeah, I like to gravitate towards Daredevil. Justice is blind.
Oh,
so
dude,
am I.
yeah. That's he's better, dude.
I love
Daredevil.
Freaking Daredevil. But anywho, let's not get caught in the weeds. You want to ask your questions first, or should I start with mine?
Yeah, no, I mean you can go first, but yeah, I mean that's pretty awesome. Like just considering that, being an attorney is not an it's not an easy task. It takes a lot of hard work and dedication to get to, go through all that process, especially passing the bar. So I've heard from a lot of people that the bar is a very interesting exam, to say the
Yeah.
least.
It,
And
interesting to say the least. Yeah.
yeah,
You spend 3 years learning about stuff, and as soon as you graduate from law school, you kind of just look to the person to your left and the person to your right, and you're like, what did I really learn? And it's so like it's so in one ear out the other, but a lot of your legal education you're going to get in the 3 to 4 months you dedicate towards bar study, and you have to treat it like a second full-time job, which is difficult for a lot of people. So some people, God willing, like me, were able to pass the first time. Others need 2, 3, maybe even more times to pass. Again, luckily I passed, and I've been enjoying it ever since, and paying it off ever
nice.
since. But enjoying
Yeah,
it ever
yeah.
since. Yeah.
So, aside from your the bar, I mean, that's not considered a like a education degree, right? Like, that's just kind of like a side thing. Because like
Um,
with the so like somebody I know, like nurse practitioner, right? Like I there's with the nurse practitioner program, kind of is an equivalent of a master's degree, but I don't know if passing the
it's
bar is
interesting.
a.
So this is actually it's a controversial question. A lot of people are like, do we treat it as a doctor's degree? Because technically I am a doctor at jurisprudence, juris doctor, but I would never have the balls to say, Dr. Slater. You will refer to me as Dr. Slater. I would never do that. So I think it's more akin.
I'm
I think it's
Doctor.
more akin to a master's degree. Yeah, but it also has the word doctor in it, JD. So juris doctor.
Mm,
So I would. I'll stay humble, and I think it's more of a master's degree, and the
mm.
bar and the
That
LSAT
makes sense.
they're like barriers to entry. Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense, and that's what I was kind of figuring as much. I mean, because the bachelor's would have been kind of that's not as what's it called? What's it called? It's not that appealing, or not appealing, but I don't know what I'm trying to say right now. But it's
I
just, the
take your meaning.
bachelor's does not add up to the freaking amount of work that you have to put in for the bar. So I would imagine the
Yeah,
masters would be an equivalent of that.
yeah. No, I should certainly hope so. But it's interesting though. I know in Europe, you can. I think you can become an attorney through like the equivalent of like an undergrad bachelor's degree.
Oh,
U.S. is like one of the few countries that requires additional education.
oh,
But that I have my own theories on that, but I don't want to get too far into
yeah,
that. But
yeah.
I do appreciate it. I do like I do like the fact that the word doctor's in there, but I think it's more of like a master's degree.
Yeah, well, that's cool, man. I mean,
Thank
like
you.
I tell you all the time, man. Like you put in a lot of work, and it shows. I mean,
I
you're
appreciate it.
definitely all the cases that you do win, and you put a lot of effort towards. I mean, it sounds like you have a lot of fun doing it. I mean,
It's fun.
and yeah, and you have that drive that not a lot of people have, to where some people are more laid back around it. And because I used to work in that environment as well, not as
Yeah,
of course that, but I used to oversee a lot of those things. And there were just some people that come in and they don't have that drive. And for you to
yeah,
want to win all the time and represent and do all that stuff, that's the kind of people we need in the system,
yeah,
and rather
yeah.
than those people that are not willing to try. So yeah,
I
I
can't tell
always
you it breaks my heart like on a daily basis where I'm negotiating with like a defense attorney and with their client present, or sometimes even to the client if there's permission given, and I give them their options and they're like, that's it. And I'm like, yeah, it's not that bad, like it's really not that adversarial. We're not the bad guys. We just take some
mm,
responsibility and just we want people to be safe. And they're like, this is really not that bad. And I take that as a massive personal win, more so than like
mm,
any trial one. I want people to become demystified in the process. And if they have a complaint with like the government, it's like I'm the first one you should tell, and then I'll work with you. So yeah, no, absolutely, it means a lot you saying that.
yeah, man, for sure. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I can go ahead and throw a question at your way,
Sure.
just to kind of get it started. So, what got you in the video games?
Jesus.
Start off
What
there.
got me into video games? My cousins. So I am half, I guess, half American, half Mexican. I was born in Brownsville, Texas, and which is right on the border of the U.S. and Mexico. It's right there on the border, and it's a beautiful little small town. But directly across the border is a sister city called Matamoros, and my cousins, they live there. I would visit them often. When my parents they were working, they would drop me off, right, and my cousins would babysit me, and they all had GameCubes. They had Nintendos, like stuff. And so every time my mom or dad would come by to pick me up, uh, I would be there playing either Smash Brothers or some Mario game, or you know, Legend of Zelda. So many games that I absolutely fell in love with then, but I didn't really pick up until much later in time. So what my mom did, because that stigma where parents are like, "Oh, I'm going to get you a Nintendo," and they give you an Xbox. That's what happened. They're like, "Oh, just go home and play with your Nintendo." And one Christmas they got me a PS2, a PlayStation
Nice.
2. So it was kind of like your at-home electronic babysitter system, but also they knew that I genuinely enjoyed it. So that's, you know, I guess that's what got me into it. And then it wasn't until later in life that I eventually, purposely sought out gaming as an art form. Uh, you know, I want to experience the story. I want to have a good time, but I also want to take it as an art form. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, so that's kind of how I got started. Yeah.
No, that's cool. Yeah, I mean
You?
that's
Yeah, yeah.
so with me, man, mine, dude. I can't remember. I always like to say like some very short age, like at 4 years old, I was playing video games, and that's probably accurate because the way it happened, it was like my brother. I have an older brother. He's about 15-ish years more apart from me. It's a very big gap, but he had a NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System, the first one, and uh, so growing up, I would always see him playing those games, and he specifically had Ninja Turtles and Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt and I believe
Mm-hmm.
Ninja Gaiden. I mean Ninja Gaiden, yeah. And then
Yeah.
I would just play. Oh, and also there was a what was that game? GI Joe. That was another one. And so I would just play those games. So I would dive in and just like play. I specifically remember sitting in the room playing Ninja Turtles, and they were really hard. And but it I was a very introverted kid and very hyper, like stupid hyper, and
Same.
so the way I got distracted was playing video games, and I guess that was maybe one of the things that my parents found that was oh, this might keep them busy, so
Yeah.
let's get them to play
This
some
will
video
shut
games.
him up.
Yeah, right. And
Yeah.
so I just kind of that's where I started playing from there, and then I got my first console, which was the Sega Genesis. I think that was before the Super Nintendo. Yeah, I think I got the Sega Genesis first, and then which came with Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and that's where I kind of fell in love with Sonic. And so he was essentially my first video game that I really got attached to. Uh, and it came in at the right time, and so that's where I started playing a bunch of Sega games because there's not a lot of people that really have a lot of love for the Genesis. It was
Right.
a kind of a wonky system. The audio chip on it was very it's bad now that when you listen to it, but I appreciate it. I mean, a lot of people just think it's not as a good quality as it would be like a Super Nintendo. The Super Nintendo just blew it out of the water, obviously, and but the Sega Genesis held a very dear place in my heart. So I grew up with that, and then I started playing the Super Nintendo. We got a Super Nintendo, and then so my dad would help me play Super Mario World, and so every day after school, and he would get home from work, we would eat dinner, and I'd ask him like, "Hey, you want to help me play Super Mario World?" And he would get there, and then we would play like one level, two levels, and then and then I'd play the rest. And so
That's cool.
yeah, it was pretty nice. And then one of the things that really kind of got me was, so my dad is really good at older video games like Pac-Man, Galaga, Dig Dug, and he got to a point where he actually learned the algorithm behind how the ghosts move in Pac-Man, and so he can get up to like
Damn.
level 50 or something. I don't know, something even further. But just because he memorized all of the patterns, I'm like,
How do you like?
yeah.
My
And
God.
the biggest conundrum that I cannot really process. I mean, it just probably at the time he just put a lot of effort into it. But Legend of Zelda, the very first Zelda game, that game was freaking hard, and because it didn't tell you anything. Like, I mean, you get little hints every once in a while, but you would have to hunt it down. And so when he told me that he beat the game without even using a strategy guide. And I was all like, how the hell? Like, did you do that? Like, because I played it, I went back and beat it when it came back out on the GameCube. And
Right.
it was like that. It's the disc that came with, it was Majora's Mask, I believe, and it was Legends of the 1 and 2. I
Hmm.
believe that's the ones that it came with. And then, so I beat it when that came out, and I remember just how hard it was for me. I had to go on GameFAQs and try to figure out, like, okay, where am I supposed
Oh
to go
my
from
God.
here? I'm like, Dad, I don't know how you do this, but Jesus
Like, how
Christ.
did you go from here to here? How'd you figure
Yeah.
that out?
How
Yeah.
would you know that, 10 clicks away from the boulder, you're going to be able to blow up a wall there and be able to get in and defeat the boss in the dungeon? I'm like, the fuck? Yeah, it's crazy.
It's
So,
wild. That's
yeah,
cool.
but yeah, I basically grew up in the old era of games. I mean, not like old like Atari. I mean, there are people probably being like, oh yeah, no, old is Atari and the Panasonic and the freaking
So it's funny.
3DO.
It's funny you mentioned that. I like shamelessly. I as soon as you said Sega Genesis, I went ahead and typed it up just to see the release date, just to see, you know,
Was it
how old are we
91?
talking about? I think it came out '89. So
Oh,
I
89.
took like plus like minus 2 years, so 90. Yeah, yeah, we're
Yeah,
close.
I think Sonic the Hedgehog 2 came out in 91. Yeah, that's
There
what I
you
was
go.
thinking of. Yeah.
There you go.
So
Yeah, no. So I mean, it's definitely, older than a PS2, right?
yeah,
But it's, it's we all started somewhere. Like there's people who, I'm gonna get all existential, but like their first system, their once upon a time game system is a PS5. For Christ's sake, it's
oh yeah,
that's the way of the world. So we all got to start somewhere.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's totally fine. It's just I feel, I'm not gonna say I feel bad for them. I just wish they would have had the opportunity to experience like what games used to be,
Yeah.
because that's because like now, like even now, whenever I try and go back and play these old games, like they don't hold like they don't relate as much as I would like them to. And so I just imagine what the person that's starting with like the modern consoles and going back and be like, ew.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like you thought this was fun, just jumping,
Yeah.
just pressing A. Like, oh no,
the
there's
the
more
one
to it.
thing the one thing that I really appreciated from those games is that they never handheld you. That they just threw you in the freaking game and then, all right, try and beat it.
There you go. Yeah,
I love that, and that's some of my gripes that I have with modern gaming. Even though I will look at it from the side that because I am a dad now, that I have very limited time to do things. So I appreciate the hand holding to a point, but I kind of wish I did still have that kind of like when games have puzzles. Like, oh, I love that. Like
yeah.
that's where it allows me to like open up and kind of like really figure these things out. But yeah, man. I mean, from the just to kind of complete the timeline of my whole entire journey, there was I got the Super Nintendo. Then after that, then that's when the amazing N64 came out with the Mario 64. Freaking got that, and then I got the GameCube, and then so on the PS2, and it was just I had almost every console like growing up
Right.
after that, and I was fortunate enough to do so, so yeah, I mean I've been playing games for a long time, and uh, I would say PC gaming kind of came in later, where I never understood anything about PC gaming until like I was when Windows was it 2000 came out, Windows 2000 or Windows XP? No, Windows XP. I think that's what it was. Yeah. So that was a
Nice.
interesting. It's just interesting era.
Yeah, no, definitely. You started from the bottom, now you're here. I mean, so to speak. From Sega Genesis all the way to my God, the PS5 era, like
Yeah.
what a
So
time.
I'm trying to get my I'm gonna try and work it in with my son to see if I can get him to grow up with those old consoles before he starts getting into the modern stuff, and see what
Yeah.
he thinks. Because
I guess that is sort of a good thing with all these remasters and like remakes. It's like you can still experience it, just probably with better graphics, you know. So
yeah.
it kind of helps. Yeah. So my first question. So you kind of answered it, but really it was, uh, what was the first game that got you into gaming? Like, can you pinpoint to like a certain game that told you, I like this. This is what I want to do, basically as a hobby for like, you know, this is it all comes down to this.
Well, yeah, because some of the ones, like if there was a pivotable, I'm sorry, what's that? The pinnacle game that really grasped my attention was, I specifically I remember this is one of the best moments ever in my life when it came to gaming was when Super Mario 64 came out. Like, oh my God, like if I had to say, because I was already in gaming at that point, but if I had to say if there was an important game in my history, let's just try and pick one. I guess Super Mario World. Super Mario World was a very big one for me on the Super NES and also like Super Metroid. But the one I always kind of reflect on every time I think about it is just Super Mario 64 because I remember that our Best Buy here in Corpus used to be at a different location. It never used to be there.
Right.
Back what? So you remember? Okay, so where we have another game store called FX Gaming, and then we have a store called Joann's right next to it. It's a fabric place.
Yes.
And so right there where Joann's was, that was where Best Buy was.
Damn.
And,
Okay, I didn't know that.
yeah, and so I specifically remember being there and playing on the demo system where, running through the halls in the first level of Mario 64, and I was like, oh my God, like this is fucking amazing.
Yeah,
Obviously,
this is
yeah.
cool. Yeah.
And then so whenever Christmas was coming around, obviously I was a little tyrant, and I ended up searching the house for presents, being the little shit that I was, and I ended up finding my mom got me a 64. She whooped my ass, but because she was like, that was supposed to be for Christmas.
Yeah.
And, but ever since then, like I was just hooked on the 64, and so that game always comes back and reminds me that, man, that was such a good time. Like it was awesome.
Absolutely.
But Sonic the Hedgehog is also one of my favorite games. That's if I had to say, yeah, that would probably, I should have probably said that one. It would have been Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Like whenever.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. My answer has like I'm gonna kind of cheat. I have two answers. So yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog. Like I mean, you literally have it like on you. I mean, you love Sonic. You look at that.
Like, yeah.
you love Sonic the freaking Hedgehog. Look at that.
Yeah. It just came out at the right time, and then it's hard to answer these kind of questions because every time everybody asks like, hey, what's your favorite something, I'm like, oh man, I don't really have a favorite something. I love everything. And so
same.
It's just
no.
whatever I'm feeling at the moment, I guess. But if I had to choose,
is true.
If I had to choose what was important to me at that time, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, like whenever the intro comes on, it was like the every Sega Genesis that you would boot up, it would have like this shape of the it was like 3 lines of text, and it was like a shape of like almost like a triangle, and then I just remember the sparkles coming up and like da 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 da. I'm like, oh yeah, fucking great, dude. And then jumping into the first level and everything. So yeah, and so I would probably say start with that one. Like that's the one that got me.
That's badass. Yeah. Very nice. Do you want to ask a question?
So with yours, okay, do you have any, let me see, I don't want to go out of order here, but would you have any favorite games that, because you stated that all the consoles that you grew up with, were there any favorite games that you gravitated towards that you just found yourself loving?
Yes, absolutely. So for the PS2, my guilty pleasure, which a lot of people didn't like, was Matrix: Path of Neo. I don't know if you ever played that. Now
I want to say no. You know what? I think I may have played a little bit of it, but I played more of a Matrix. What's that other one where you play as
It's,
Jada Pinkett Smith?
yes. I think it's
That
called
one.
Enter the Matrix, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
there you go. Enter the Matrix.
Enter the Matrix. So I played both of those. Yeah, I love both of them. I didn't know. I didn't even see the movies at the time, but this was just in that stage of life where like I was realizing I like gaming, and so I saw the cover. It was like green and like chromish, right, and it kind of like a lenticular cover,
Yeah.
and I love that. And it's Keanu Reeves, so I kind of recognized, so I got it. Uh, I just remember being so blown away by the graphics of the game at the time. I like the fact that the game was fully voice acted, and so there was literally scenes from the movie, but you had Keanu Reeves, uh, uh, Carrie Moss, I believe her name is, Lawrence Fishburne, and then how could I not forget the guy who plays as Agent Smith?
Oh,
How
Agent
could
Smith.
what is his name? But anyway, so it was a fully voiced, fully acted game that also it went into the story of the games, but it also gave you a lot of context and even opportunity to rewrite some pivotal moments of the movies. And the whole concept of like dodging bullets, like my parents were like so like, oh, don't, no guns, like don't play shooters. So it was kind of cool in the, you know, like the coolest scene in like almost all of cinema where he
Yeah,
starts
the
dodging
whole-
bullets.
yeah.
I'm like, oh, cool, like I could do that now. So that was like my guilty pleasure in the PS2 era, followed by Predator: Concrete Jungle.
Oh, dude, that was such a good game. That was a
It
good
is
game.
so overhated and underappreciated.
Overhated. I thought that's like the best Predator game.
Kind of like by default. Like, can you name a better one? Like the Predator Hunting Grounds is getting an update for the PS5, so that is a contender. But
Yeah.
otherwise, it's kind of like by default. But I loved it. That was a great game, very visceral. That was the first rated M game I ever bought, and GameStop at the time was very like, "Oh, you don't look 18. Like, where's your mom? Where's your dad?" I must have been like, oh my god, maybe 13, 14. But the guy behind the counter, I remember him like he could tell I was a Predator fan. He's like, "Do you have $50?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Oh,
Yeah, okay.
nice.
So like that was like my first rated M purchase ever, and probably my favorite rated M purchase today, just because of the euphoria of like I got it.
Yeah.
And then the alien reveal at the very end. I'm like, oh my god, Alien versus Predator. So yeah,
God,
that was my
you know,
go-to.
I never beat that one. Oh god, I gotta go back and play it now.
Oh,
Damn it.
bro, why would you let me spoil that? God damn it!
I mean, it's
Yeah.
kind of a given, right? I mean, I kind of figured
Yeah.
they would try to tie it.
They added xenomorphs just out of nowhere, but it was so cool,
Ooh.
and it was so freaky. Actually, I think I didn't play the game for like a year because of how scared I was of the xenomorph.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my PS2. That was like my PS2, like what I gravitated towards.
Man, the PS2 was such a great era too. That one was like,
Yeah.
people say that. Well, I think the Switch took over as the best-selling console of all time now, but before it was the PS2.
It was the
And,
PS2 for the
dude,
longest
like
time.
just thinking of all the games that were on it, it was just amazing.
Yeah.
So many, and
Absolutely.
but yeah,
Yeah. For I guess I'll just I'm taking a lot of time. I'll just kind of rapid fire the next one. PS3 era was the first Lost Planet. Freaking amazing,
dude,
I-
that's so good, so good.
It was like a year exclusive on the Xbox, and I followed that game religiously, and I was so upset it didn't come into PlayStation 3. And as soon as I did, I bought it full price, played it all the way until I think they shut down the servers. And I still think about it to this day. I think it could have been the start of a massive franchise. It could have been like the anti-Dune. Instead of sand, it could have been like ice and
Yeah.
shit, big monsters. But anyway, that was my go-to. And Resident Evil 5, those were my go-tos. And then PS5 era, PS4, PS5 era, I'm all over the place. That's when I really started treating video games as an art. And so really the best games I played during that era were like retros through emulation. So that's when we started getting into Silent Hill, the older school Resident Evils and all that stuff. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Dude,
So
that's awesome.
kind of my story. Anything you want to, same question?
Yeah, dude. That's a very good question because like I just said earlier, it's like
You're the one who wrote it.
I know, right? Because there's really a not a favorite, but like if I okay, let's just start from the beginning. So with the Sega, obviously there's Sonic, right? And then there was also specifically the Death and Return of Superman. Like that one was a freaking good game on the Sega Genesis,
Yes. Yeah.
and it was a beat 'em up, and then just fun game. Like I just remember, and then also some Ren and Stimpy games and Beavis and Butthead. Those are hilarious to play, and then going to the Super Nintendo, there was obviously Super Mario World, Super Metroid, all the Super games, Super Star Wars, freaking Super Empire Strikes Back. Man, dude, those games were so great. And
Yeah.
I would play. Oh, and then Star Fox. So like basically all the core Nintendo people or games were great. And then, but then going into the 64, and this is about the time because I used to rent games from Blockbuster. I was fortunate enough to be in that
Same.
time,
Yeah.
and I just remember my dad, and this is why I kind of would say that my parents probably found this as an outlet for me to kind of shut the hell up, to keep my ass calm. And
Yeah.
my dad would take me, and so I would do this thing like I'm very indecisive, right? A lot of the times because
Same.
of my freaking ADD. So when I was a kid, I would like look at two games and I'd be like, and I'd go put it back and I'd be like, wait, let me go get the other one. And my dad was like,
Yes,
just pick
yeah.
one, just pick a damn game.
Choice is a curse. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it also happened at HEB because HEB used to rent games too. Like they used to have like a rental system inside of their place. I
Jesus
specifically
Christ.
remember. Yeah, it was.
You're showing
yeah.
your age, man, because nowhere in my life did they do that. But okay.
It must have been. I think it was kind of like a test run. Well, not a test run. It was like at only available stores. So the one here,
Maybe. Yeah.
in the west side of Corpus, right? There was a HEB that used to be there, and then in the very corner there was like a place where you can go and rent games from there. And then they tore that down, built the new one on Southport, right? That's the name of the street. And
Right.
that one actually, when they launched the new HEB, it had a whole game center where they were trying to sell games, and it was nice, but it didn't do well. So then they tore that down and just did away with games. So that's why I'm thinking
Right.
that they maybe tried it out to see if it was going to be a success. But
Right.
but anyways, like going back to Blockbuster and Hollywood Video, and my dad would take me. I would go and rent games, and he wouldn't care what games I would play. There was one specific game that if I had to, you know what? If I had to say it was my all-time favorite game ever, it's a game about a squirrel, and it's called Conker's Bad Fur Day. So that was on the 64, and dude,
That's what I'm doing right now. Conquer's
talk
Birthday.
about an M-rated game. It's my dad didn't think anything of it, so he was like, "All right, cool." And that's because I've rented South Park before. South Park was pretty bad at the time too.
Yeah, like
but-
the cover art is so cute and stuff. Like you would not
Yep.
expect that to.
So the game.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so it looks like it, but it's a parody of a bunch of other movies. And so Conker's Bad Fur Day, just quick story short, right? It's about a squirrel that gets drunk, and he gets lost on his way home, and he has to find his way home back to his girlfriend. Along the way, he comes across all these different events that happen that are basically taking out pieces of different movies. So you'll come across a Saving Private Ryan era level,
No.
freaking Bram Stoker's Dracula level, and then a land full of shit. Like literally, we have to go through shit to fight enemies, and dude, it's just all sorts of crazy. And
That's pretty cool.
But that game was so great. It's fun. Like they totally broke the boundaries on a lot of things.
How many
And,
how many times would you say you've rented that?
Shoot, man, I probably about 5 times back in the day, and then I bought it recently, and I want to play it again, but I've beaten that one probably about like 5 times, 6 times, and it just never gets old. It's so fun. And they even
Yeah.
remade it on the Xbox, but the Xbox version, it was called Live and Reloaded. It was they really downgraded. That's whenever Microsoft bought Rare games, and it was kind of sad because the graphics look great, but they tweaked the story. They took out a lot of the bad words. They blurred it out, and really kind of almost made it PG-13. But that's why I was like, man, that's taken away from the core reason of why this game was so great. Is because
Yeah.
it was so foul. And but yeah, so that was one of my favorite games of all time, and if not the favorite, my favorite. Uh, and then going on into there was a ton more in the 64. Honestly, that was a really good era. Even though I've heard people say that the 64 wasn't that great, at least game wise, but I'm like, there was a lot of great games. You had a lot of portovers like Resident Evil, and you had some good staples like Turok 1 and 2 and 3. Then you had a like Rush series and Cruise in the World and
Right.
Mario Party, of course. And
Of course.
but that's what I'm like, oh, Zelda, Ocarina of Time, freaking Majora's Mask. Like, whew, come on, like there's a freaking like
no.
heavy games.
Yeah, like where were you? Like,
Yeah, Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time was a very big one for me too, because my brother actually took me to go rent that game whenever it first came out, and I remember on release day, whenever it first got, you were able to rent it, and I bought the strategy guide, and I just like grinded the shit out of that game. It was amazing. Love playing that game. But then going into the PS2, that's where, for the longest time, my cousin had one. I never had it because I didn't have. Obviously, I think I forgot how old I was, but I needed to make money to be able to buy it because my mom was like, "I'm not going to buy that for you." She was like, "You're going to have to find ways to make money and buy it." And so I did. It sold a shitload of games that I had, and I was able to. The first game I played on it was the Grand Theft Auto 3.
there you go. There you go.
Yeah, out of all games, Grand Theft Auto 3, and then started diving into other games like Tekken and
Oh my God.
Soul Reaver, and
Yeah.
so that was a great system. And I totally skipped PS1. PS1 was definitely fucking amazing. Like that one holds a very dear place in my heart for a lot of the games that came out there. You got Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and you got all the Resident Evils, which I love. Resident Evil is like honestly one of my favorite series of all time.
Yeah.
And,
I got a question regarding that, so be ready. Yeah.
Yeah, even Silent
Yeah.
Hill, Silent Hill 1, dude, like it was just, oh man, like the horror aspect, and Clock Tower, like those games were just great. And
Absolutely.
but yeah, I mean, like just taking games out of each pieces of those eras, Luigi's Mansion out of the GameCube, and also Rogue Squadron for Star Wars, and
There you go. Yeah.
dude,
You're
Wind
hitting a lot
Waker,
of-
we got Wind Waker too. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, and then I can talk about the modern systems too. I mean, like all the games that people are playing right now, and which is like Call of Duty, Black Ops, right? And then, but I don't want to bore anybody with those. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of like a long story, long about what my most favorite.
It's
games.
all relevant. That's all that's matters. Real quick, I do have to do an addendum, Mike. You actually reminded me of what is in fact my favorite game of all time and what got me into PS2 gaming, the real one. Blockbuster, the game that I perpetually rented over and over again, and that my parents did not mind because it's Alien and Predator. Alien versus Predator Extinction.
Oh, dude, that's the is that the MMO? No,
It's
the
an
real
RTS.
RTS. There you go. Sorry.
It's an RTS that is. I think a lot of people have it down as like a bad game, and when I emulate it, it is super rough. But that is like I will play that game over and over again with rose tinted glasses, and I must have rented that game like 5 or 6 times, and maybe even attempted to have like steal it several times just because no other places were selling it. So I just have to do an addendum. That's like up there. That's what started it.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
sorry to shoehorn back in there, but it's just crazy when you mention Blockbuster. I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm a freaking idiot.
Such a great
Yeah.
time to
Such a great time to be alive. So I did promise you. I do have several questions, but I will just skip to the ones that are kind of more interesting. So Silent Hill. I promise not to get into it. We talk a lot about it, but you like it. But
Yeah.
I think it's clear that Resident Evil is what won your heart, right?
yeah.
So let's just have a little fun here. So it's 1998. You're in Raccoon City, and the outbreak is starting. You don't know anything about it. Pretend like you haven't played the games. Like the outbreak is just starting, and in the games you see people. Some people, hardly any people went to the police station. Some people went to bars. Some people, like Kendo, had his little gun shop. Just have fun with it. Like, what would be the first thing you would do? And let's assume that the roads are blocked off. So you were in Raccoon City, and you're starting to see the.
Oh
So
man.
what are you doing? What's the very first thing you do, Mike?
I take a car and run a bunch of those bitches over.
Okay.
Find some keys and just run them over and then try to find a different way to go. But
Do some Dead Rising shit.
yeah, for real.
Yeah, just run them the fuck over.
Dude,
Yeah.
no, I'd probably man.
Like, would you hole up in any particular place, or like, would you like?
Well, if I went to the Raccoon Police Department, are we talking specifically in Resident Evil 2 or Nemesis?
Any,
I mean,
it's so really you have Resident Evil like 0 all the way to 3 to play with, you know.
yes. Well, if we are in the city, yeah, I'd probably do that.
And
Motive.
the Chronicles, the Outbreak files. So
The outbreak.
have fun with it.
Yeah,
Have fun with it,
dude.
Yeah.
Because then if I go to the police department, then I gotta face the liquors, and that'd be scary. I'd be like,
This
no.
is true. Yes, you thought and potentially Mr. T. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't fall for that.
Yeah, no, screw that. I probably stay in the streets where it's a lot more open and less heavy enemies, to where I can easily navigate around the zombies and just try to find my way out of the damn outskirts.
So you would still try to find a way out. The objective is still to get out.
Yeah, you know what? I'd stop by Kendo's first, and then pick up his shotgun, and then take off, and then try to conserve my ammo there.
Yeah, no, I think that would make sense. You know, yeah, no, I think fair,
Yeah.
very fair. I like that.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
interesting.
What would be your choice?
Honest to God, I've thought about it so much, and I'm like, that's why I love it. It makes you think. I don't know the nuke is coming, right? So,
Yeah,
part
that's
of me,
another thing, yeah.
if I'm in Raccoon City, I would assume it's because I'm home, or like maybe I have a hotel room or something. Like I would want to stay there, right? Maybe look for my wife. So I'm trying to pretend like I want to stay there. So what will be the first place I go to? Probably Kendo makes a lot of sense, but I'm also thinking maybe a hardware store. Get some like tools, get stuff with metal, get some heavy shit, and just like I feel like there would be a lot of people there. We could probably barricade, the store, and then of course we have tools, we have stuff that can be turned into makeshift weapons.
Yeah,
because it's
now you're talking about Dead Rising stuff.
Yeah, it kind of crosses into it.
Now
it
we're
does
going
kind
to Dead Rising.
Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of because I'm trying to think of like the hospital, based on what we know on Resident Evil 3, that gets run over pretty quickly, and I think the hunters, they're in there. Yeah. So I mean, I shouldn't know this. I shouldn't apply video game knowledge, but we do know that's not a safe place to be at. And if all these people are like, okay, so it's an infection. I don't want to go where the infection is at, or
Yeah.
So the police station. Well, if all these cops' cars are out there, they're all dead. Okay, don't go there. So, for me, it would make sense to like hole up in like a, like a hardware store, because
something with a bunch of but that would make sense. Something with a bunch of stuff that you can use to like fend yourself off with, and I was more thinking of like firearms, because if I didn't know what kind of monsters lurked out there, but if I knew zombies, obviously, if I saw zombies as the first thing, my first thing that would pop in my head would be like, okay, there must be worse things out there. Kind of like if you're in Australia and everything's big over there, you got big ass spiders, you got big ass
everything's trying to
mosquitoes.
kill you.
And you're like,
oh my god, the
Imagine
the dogs.
Imagine the worst possible thing. Yeah,
that is true.
I'm
That is
like,
absolutely true.
Okay, we need to get some heavy shit.
Yeah,
I'd be
and then
I put a bunch of pillows and mattresses all over me and just like walk around like a marshmallow dude.
that is true. Yeah,
try to bite me.
Do some oh yeah, like a sporting goods store. Get like some hockey pads and shit.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that would have been another good answer. No, and then before we leave, imagine you hear stars. Just yeah.
I'd be like,
hopefully you got enough bullets in that gun.
Be nice, please.
Daddy.
Daddy.
He pulls out the tentacle. Anyway, yeah. No, that's freaky.
That's fun, man.
That'd be freaky.
I've always thought about that. Even especially like in the first one where you're in the mansion, That one was just like, oh, creepy, dude. Like just knowing that you're kind of
In the next
navigating.
room. Yeah.
Yeah, and then, ugh.
Especially with the remake with the Crimson Heads, I think they're called. If
Yeah,
you don't burn the bodies, they get worse,
yeah,
and they
dude, they're
can
freaking
actually follow you
aggressive.
from one room to the other. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that was such a great remake. Oh my god, it was so good.
yeah, yeah. That's kind of why like I wouldn't go to like a hotel or whatever where there's confined spaces because the Crimson Heads and the Lickers are just gonna fuck me up. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what's your favorite console? Like, I mean, you stated a couple of them. What would you say is your favorite console to jump on? Because I know right now you're playing modern, but I mean, if you had to choose, like,
If I had to choose,
if you let's just throw modern out because that's just only what's relevant. But even
where would
I
you
mean,
draw the line in modern?
well, I mean, like PS5 is the most modern.
Yes, yeah. So
Or if you feel that
I think
PS5 is the best system, then go for it. I mean,
I think if you want a system that's safe with masterpieces, and that the graphics and the gameplay mechanics, that's where a lot of things started, but it also withstands the test of time. I think PS2 is my go-to. I do think that is, for me, objectively the best gaming system. There's a reason why it was the best-selling system of all time. But I guess more subjectively, me personally, I think I had the most fun in the PS3 era when I picked up Call of Duty and multiplayer like through Lost Planet and Spies and Mercs, Splinter Cell Double Agent. Like I had so much fun in the PS3 era multiplayer that's just gonna have a special place in my heart. But I think the game that I've put in the most hours into of any game I've ever played, of all time, the first Modern Warfare 2. So and they refuse to remake that. They remade the first
yeah.
Modern Warfare, but not the second one. And there's a reason because they know that that's going to be the last game people ever played, right? So, console wise, PS2, but the one where I have like the fondest memories, it just kind of by default it has to be the PS3. So, a little bit of a cheat answer, but that is the answer.
That's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I probably have to say the PS2. Honestly, there was just
Yeah.
so many goddamn games on that console, and a very underrated console was the Sega Dreamcast. It was very short lived though, and because the one that resonates with me a lot on that is the Sonic Adventure series, and dude, like talk about like when Mario 64 came out, and now thinking about it, like Sonic Adventure when that first one came out. Oh my god, like it was just so good. Just a whole 3D world of Sonic, and even though they did have a 3D, but it was a Sonic 3D Blast. It wasn't the same. It was a top-down kind of viewpoint.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, PS2 would be my choice. I mean, there's like Manhunt. You got Manhunt games on there, which then you had I mean, dude, there's like so many. I can probably list them off like on what. Oof,
Yeah,
there's
I
a
mean,
lot.
there's a reason why when we went to Austin, in those like glass cases were like the key like games. Obviously there's some like stuff from like the Nintendo era and stuff, but overwhelmingly it's PS2 stuff. Haunting Ground, Rule of Rose, Silent Hill 2, Shattered Memories, even, and that's getting late into the PS2 era. It's just like it seems consistently from the lifespan of the PS2 era. There's just masterpiece after masterpiece after masterpiece.
Yeah.
There's a reason. Why that
I mean,
is.
it's kind of hard too because like the 360 was a very, very good console too. That was like I didn't like the PlayStation 3 a lot because of the interface. I mean, there was a lot of good games. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
I always gravitated more like if I had the choice because they at the time it was like if it wasn't PS3 exclusive and it was on both consoles, I'd be gravitating more Xbox 360 because Xbox 360 had that dialed in very good, like the interface, the whole Xbox Live aspect, and doing party chats. And then they screwed it up with Xbox One, so that's why I reverted back to PS4, and then it's
Yeah.
just they had a lot of rough patches. Even though now they're a lot better, but like Xbox Series X has refined it quite a bit, but
Yeah.
still it's not the same as the 360. But
There was a bit of a golden age in that Xbox 360 era. 360 era. Halo 3, ODST.
dude,
I
All
didn't
the
own an
yeah.
Xbox, but there was always that one guy at the lunch table who's like, I know how to emulate Halo on the PS3. Like how. You know, there's a reason because those games were freaking landmarks. You know, and then Bioshock, uh,
Dude, yeah, talk about Bioshock, dude. Bioshock was
the
amazing.
yeah Splinter Cell Double Agent and Conviction. Oh, like oh my god, the Gears of fucking War, dude. Like
That was a great game. I mean, even like when the new Gears were like, if another Gears, what, did they announce another one? I can't remember, but
I'm
if they
not too
do
sure.
Gears 6, then I think that's what they're at right now, right? Gears 5
Hmm.
and Gears 6. So if they announce a Gears 6, I'm getting a fucking getting an Xbox One X again because I really love, dude. I love those games. They're so good.
Yeah. Let me know if you do. Let me know if you do. I do have one. So.
John DiMaggio, dude, never disappoints with me. I fucking love John DiMaggio as an actor.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I do need to get more into Gears of War, but whenever I remember playing the first and the second, and then I think there was a horde mode,
Oh yeah,
and then when I found out there was like a chainsaw attached to the freaking gun, I'm like,
the Lancer. Yeah,
done. You know, freaking amazing.
yeah, it's great, and especially the reload system. Like that one was pretty unique. Like you would hit the RB, and then you would wait for the line to move, and then you would hit it at the
perfect
right
time.
time, and then it would like be the fast reload. And I'm like, dude, that is so fucking clever. It makes it more intense. Like when you're in battle, and you're like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
You know.
Or
And if
you
you fuck
jam it,
up,
like,
then you're
fuck,
jamming.
yeah.
You're like, god damn it.
Yeah, it's just a lot of stakes. It was a lot of fun. It was
Yeah, for
definitely-
sure, for sure. So what do you got for me next?
uh, so I'm just gonna if you don't I'm just gonna focus on the ones that are kind of big. Like I'm gonna get rid of a lot of the chaff just in the interest of time. So you have talked a lot about designing a game in the future,
Mm-hmm.
and in case I haven't made it obvious, I would love to help. But I think last we talked about it, you kind of wanted to err on the side of like horror or maybe some mystery, kind of make it like a little ominous, right? I don't know if that's fair to say.
Yes, and I've had new ideas as of recent, which if we can finish your question and
So the question is, so tell me where your mind is at with regards to the setting. What is the background for the what is the background? It can be literal, like as in, is it going to take place in Texas? Is it in the present, in the past? But if you have like more specific, go ahead. You know, like what's the background?
did you ever play God of War, the new God of War games?
Yes.
You play both of them, Ragnarok especially.
Ragnarok, I'm starting.
Okay.
I am starting, but I have
So-
played the most recent God of War, self-titled. Yeah.
Yeah, so God of War conveniently that game has always come out in the right times of my life. It's almost like I'm on that cycle with the developers to where like they're just designing it at the perfect time because I relate to it so much. And with the old ones, obviously it's a little bit different, but I love Greek mythology, and I've never
Same.
like at the time I was just getting into Greek mythology and like learning about Zeus and all the different Poseidon and all the gods, right? And I loved it. I loved
Aphrodite. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, slut.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But then, so they took it to a new level with the new God of Wars, and so the
Yeah.
first one was a very great story, and then it's about a father and a son, right? And then I think towards the end of that's when I found out I was having a kid, and then God of War Ragnarok came out, and then that's where
damn.
the kid was older, and then like, dude, I kid you not, that game made me cry at the end, or cry during it because there was a lot of things that happened where it was like legitly about fatherhood, and
Right.
it was like almost foreshadowing like stuff that I'm going to be going through. And I even watched an interview of the creator talking about it, and he was like, yeah, I was, I had a child of my own, and I wanted to develop something that kind of resonated with that. And I was like, they're just so good. Like,
Can you believe there are people who hate the new God of Wars and they want to revert to the old hack and slash?
you
Like,
can't make everybody happy.
but it's also like, what's wrong with you? Like,
yeah, I mean, I understand. I mean, like, I love the old hack and slash, but then they made it work with the new system. Like, it was somehow, I was very skeptical at first, but then when I played it, I'm like, okay, this works. This actually is a new system. It actually works pretty well. And
so do you want to take the setting of like Greek, or do you want to take the idea of like father and like fatherhood, or
yeah, so my idea is The story would be based around fatherhood, right?
Right.
And since I am expecting another child, so I'll have two kids, right? And so the whole thing that I'm thinking about is having it as a tragic story slash uh, tragic and like happy story. So what is that called? That in plays they call that there's a certain specific term for that kind of
It's
stuff.
like bittersweet,
Kind of like
or it's
divine,
a
like almost like the divine comedy, but that
okay.
because a comedy
Okay.
is actually doesn't mean a comedy. A comedy
Right.
it means something different, but something at that level. I forgot what there's a term for it, but anyways, so the story would be about you have little boys that are growing up with each other, and then you're the father figure that's trying to show them around, show them the ropes, show them their abilities on teaching
Right.
them how to be people, right? And then something happens, almost like a Lion King thing, right? Like the father dies, and then now the son grows up, and then he has to learn all this stuff on his own. Well, I wanted the kids to have the abilities to apply those out in the game, so where they
Okay.
can now leverage their abilities, even learning new stuff. But the
Okay.
setting would be more, I don't know, like I would expect it to be like a fantasy, and just because
Okay.
I like
I like that.
fantasy,
Hell
so
yeah. Hell
it
yeah.
would because you can do a lot more with it, and because if you do something with more realistic, then people are gonna be like, that's not realistic, and
I think you'll be very pleased with what I'm thinking, but go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah. So basically, that's what it is. It's like the beginning, the first half or first quarter of the game, you're teaching your kids about principles, and then you pass away, and then now those principles have to be put into action by the kids to learn on their own. And even the kids can either deviate into their own path, so where one's good and one's bad, and meet up with each other at the end, or there's a lot of flexibility. That's just kind of how far I've gotten so far. But it would be about the whole concept of fatherhood, because as
So that's
I'm
interesting.
learning, there's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff that I would like to put in.
So in a way, you're actually kind of taking a page from like The Last of Us Part Two, where it's like, you know, it's here's the figure, the father figure, and then you lose him, and then it's up to the so-called child figure. I mean, these the two sons actually belong to this father figure, right? So you then take control of, I'm guessing, one or maybe both, or basically you control their destiny, right? It's just kind of interesting, there's a lot you could do with that, right? I mean,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
depending on the decisions you make, the boys, they learn from you, right? Right. And so then, like, when the father passes away, it's like you start with like a preset skill set based on all of what they learned from the father. I don't know. I don't want to hijack it, but
Yeah, no, I mean it could be like that, where one kid takes it a certain way and the other kid takes it another way, and then one can go
that's
down
true.
the dark path and the other one down the good path, and then it's all about the because the one thing that also resonates with me is that I was never close with my brother, and so that's one thing that I want for my kids to have, is for them to be close to each other, and then
Same.
to take care of each other. So that's kind of like, if one goes bad, then the good one has to go and find him or turn him, and kind of make sense of it. And
Right.
so there's a lot of flexibility, and I think
I
it would
like
be
that.
like a side scroller, like almost. Have you ever played Ori and the Wisps? Ori and
No.
the No, oh my god, dude, that's
No.
such a good. It's on Xbox, and Ori. There's two of them. There's Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and Ori and the. Damn it, what's the other one? There's another one, but it's a
Ori and the
platform.
Blind Forest.
There you go, the Blind Forest. Super great game, dude. The narrative in that game is, oh god, it's like it's a very simplistic game when you think about it, but the graphics are amazing. Like the art style is, it's just so poppy. It's a and
Damn.
it's a platformer. You gain all these powers, and then you're navigating through the levels and stuff like that. It's just very well made, and that's the kind of game that I would expect it to be like. And so, like, let's say one of those abilities that the kids learn is how to create a pulley system, right? Like if they're trying to get across or get something up a tree or up a ledge, they can find a pulley system to like make it happen, something like that. I don't know,
Right.
but
Right.
it's just like, it requires two kids to get it done, and because they're co-op working together, so it almost makes it like a co-op game too. And
Yeah.
So it's just something like that. I mean, hopefully, when we get the right people together to kind of pull that together, maybe everybody would be on board for it.
That's pretty cool. I like that. That's pretty
Yeah,
badass. Yeah.
yeah. So, what? So you said along the lines that that would be something you would do, or
Yeah. So I it's funny you mentioned Divine Comedy and then finding someone, not having a connection, like trying to like find them. Uh, Recently I started like watching like Vampire Hunter D, right, the anime, and kind of started reading the manga because I was interested in that game you had, right? And the setting it takes place like in the year 10,000 in a apocalyptic future, and it's because of like nuclear war and all that stuff that like all these things that humanity, dreaded and like what was considered mythical, like vampires and then like fairies and stuff, that kind of comes back. So it's still based very much in the real world, but there's also a little bit of a fantastical element. But it's not like overwhelming. It's still very much a kind of a horror post-apocalyptic
yeah,
thing, but still with fantastical elements. So I haven't figured out how exactly I want to balance the two, but I definitely would want it to be, dark and bleak, but also fantasy elements. So when you mentioned that, I'm thinking, okay, we're close. Um, and like when it comes to like Divine Comedy and then like Connection, it's kind of funny you mentioned God of War because at the time that I played the first three God of Wars, there was another game, another hack and slash that came out that a lot of people compare to God of War. Do you know what that was, by any chance?
they
I feel like
compared
you would get it.
they compared to God of War.
That compared to God, and it had to do with religion. A lot of so it's like okay, so God of War kills Zeus. This game,
Oh, Dante's
you
Inferno.
fuck yeah, there you go. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And you know what? It was good. It was a good game.
Oh yeah.
It was made by the people who made Dead Space, Visceral,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and they even added, I think, a two-player mode later on in the form of DLC
Yeah,
of
I think so.
Saint Lucia. Um, so I like that. Go through all this trials and tribulations, darkness to eventually find that someone. In this
Yeah.
case, it's Dante's wife. Um, if it's a brother or a sibling,
What was
that
it?
works just as well.
It was Dante Alighieri.
Dante Alighieri.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
I'm trying to remember the name of the wife. Is it Bellatrix or is it
That I can't
oh
remember.
my god.
But
Oh my god.
dude, so whenever I first heard about that game, oh sorry,
Beatrice. There you go.
Beatrice,
Beatrice. Yeah.
Beatrice. uh,
Beatrice.
I had that actually came at a really good time because I had heard about the book or I don't know how it came across the story though, but it was so intriguing because I love stuff like that where it's like the nine circles of hell?
The nine circles of hell.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that in itself was pretty amazing because it was like, oh my god, like oh, I want to know what that is, and I
Dante
dove
goes
into
deep.
yeah, and then I think I did a lot of internet searching on it, and then I found out they were gonna make a game. I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna be great. And then playing it, it was like, dude, I enjoyed every moment of it. It was like so dark and demented. It was
Yeah.
I love dark and demented games.
I loved it. Growing up in a religious Catholic household, everyone told me not to play it. I fucking played it. I loved it. I love the darkness. I love like there's a lot of, like Silent Hill has like a lot of like religious elements to it, but it's not
Oh
a
yeah,
religious game. I would want to find a way to incorporate like I guess religious iconography because there's just something so like culty and ancient and like mythical about it that just seems like wrong. I would want to take a couple beads off of that, but still make it a point about finding something or finding someone.
yeah.
And I'm trying to remember what else I had in mind. Um, I'm not gonna lie. Originally, I had the idea of making the protagonist like a female, like a mother figure, just because it seems like that's kind of stereotypical. Like you got Alien Isolation, Haunting Ground, Rule of Rose. It's all strong female, like the strong independent woman. Is in it's the final girl. That's pretty much the figurehead of like survival horror and like horror stuff. But flipping that to a male, that still works. That still absolutely works. I don't see any issue with that whatsoever. But I do think we're also in agreement with like family. Family is like, what would you do for your family? You know,
Yeah.
and when you betray family or you do dark shit for your family or despite thereof, that hurts. You know, so I think we're in the same orbit. You know, I like that. I
Yeah.
like hearing that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that was going to be one of my questions for you. Is it's kind of the same question that we asked the Leave ending. Is like, what would make the ultimate video game? And since we're talking about the game that we would make, it almost sounds like that would be a lot of the elements that we were looking for. Especially, I mean, on top of that, I love puzzles. So like puzzling games would or puzzling the that aspect would be get thrown into it. Uh, and that's why I like Metroidvanias a lot, and because they're a lot of you. Well, I guess it's yeah, it's like a puzzle. So like you need the weapon to go and access a certain level, certain area. So you have to go and find it, and then come back to that. Go back and forth motions.
Right. Right.
And so that's kind of an element that I would love to make it as.
I
But
think if we're going in this era in this direction of like family and like horror, what I kind of wish I told the Leave ending is that I want to like make characters in a story that kind of places the actions and like the consequences thereof, like the weight. That's the word I'm looking for. Weight. I want the characters to feel that, but I also want you, the player, to feel that. So I'm
yeah,
thinking, Near Automata, like big, massive spoilers, huge for the next 10 seconds.
disclaimer.
Huge, especially here. They all die. All the main characters die until you have to bring them back, and that's when you go through the final bullet hell, and you literally have to fight the producer, the maker, Yoko Taro. You have to fight, all their names on the credits for like
Oh
10-20
yeah,
minutes. For 10-20 minutes, you're fighting just names, and you have to ask people from around the world who have already finished the game to help you. So it's like
wow.
the weight. Literally, the name of the song that plays in the end is called "Weight of the World." I want you to feel that. Spec Ops: The Line. I don't know if have you played that?
No, but I know what it's about. I've seen it. It's a really good game.
So Spec Ops: The Line, you go there to save people. The key part of the game is when you feel like you're saving people by like bombing this encampment with like white phosphorus. You killed all the people you were there to save, and so the player feels it. No, the character feels it, but you, the player, feel it. And so all your actions for the rest of the game is just you trying to like save face. And then Silent Hill, like Maria, the endings you get are based purely on your actions. So I want there to be a connection with that. What you feel is what the character is feeling, you know.
Yeah, no, that's
And
good,
then
man.
obviously it's going to come down to like the story to make that happen. I
Yeah.
think.
I also like when games don't tell you straight out like what they're doing, and there's like an
Yeah.
ulterior motive in the background, like Silent Hill does. Like with Silent Hill 2. Not to really go too much into that one, but how the personification of a lot of things in that game made you think of what they actually meant. So like I
Yeah.
love when games do that. Uh, what was another game that did it? There's
I forgot. I don't know if you played it, but Death
Yes.
Stranding.
Yeah, a little bit. That one, man, I tried to get through it, but that game is just so long. I still need to go back and beat it, but it's it's a very long game.
Yeah, that one taught me like people are ultimately good. In the end, even though you may be antisocial, which I am. Trust in people. People are ultimately good. Make connections, and
Yeah.
then that one, the guy also takes on a son. So that one
Mm.
also, it's like,
Well,
I
yeah,
want one.
yeah, the Kojima
Yeah,
games itself, all his games that he's made are very subliminal, and then
yeah,
in the way
yeah,
that they approach everything. So yeah,
yeah,
that's one reason why I love that guy too. I mean, he makes like really good games.
yeah.
Um, Let me see. So yeah, I wanted to ask you. So you're on the episodes. You were mentioning your name is Morningstar, right? Morningstar Mike. So even that's your YouTube, your tag name there. But
Yep.
what is the reasoning behind Morningstar?
There's a lot of reasons. I'll just kind of rapid fire it. Morningstar. Immediately, people, religious, non-religious, may associate that with the devil. Yeah, because I think there's some like passage in like some scripture or some Bible, or I don't know if it's even in like Jewish canon, that it's like when the devil fell from heaven, he did so like a morning star, right? And the devil is like he's like the most beautiful like angel of them all. He's like the closest thing to God, and drops from hell. As a person who grew up in religion, I was told fear the devil, fear the devil, and so I actually had a lot of irrational fears because of like, oh, I don't want to go to hell, and all that stuff. So growing up, being more mature about it and seeing things more, there's black, there's white, and there's gray. Uh, I kind of do that as like, I have nothing to fear. I'm literally going to take on the name, right? Uh, Morningstar. But there's also like, the full name is Morningstar Esquire. That's like my entire handle. Esquire obviously means like attorney, right? So Morningstar Esquire, devil's advocate. I pride myself with not ever taking too strong of a position on anything. I think it's a great skill to have that a lot of people don't nowadays have, to see both sides of an argument and to express empathy. So I feel this way, but I understand where you're coming from. And if we're in an argument and you can't make it clear that you're seeing things from my point of view, I can't respect you. But if you say like, okay, I see where you're coming from, but here's why I'm still right, I'm going to listen to you a whole lot more, right? So as an attorney, like, and as a prosecutor, as someone who represents the government, I like coming forward and saying like, hey, I get how it looks, I get what you're thinking, but here's why, here's how it really is, and here's why. I think that's a great skill to have. So it's kind of like me coming to terms with like my religious upbringing and kind of doing away with it and just coming to terms with who I am, and like just me being the best human I think I could possibly be. I'm one with everyone else. I want to understand everyone. I want to get everyone. And when it comes down to like us being in an adversary position, I want you to know I can argue your position better than you can. And if I'm still saying I think I'm right, I hope you can listen, So that's kind of the where the name comes from. Yeah. So that's sorry, cool. Pretty long-winded. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes a lot of sense then. Yeah. Because I always tend to, because you had talked about it briefly with me at one point, and I kind of forgot. So I knew that the Esquire was the lawyer or the attorney part, and then I forgot what the Morningstar. I know it's religion, and I'm not very good with religion, so it's like I always forget that piece.
Yeah, it's There's a lot of layers to it.
Yeah,
kind of tells you a lot about me. Yeah,
well, that's cool. You got anything else for me?
Yeah, I think I got maybe one.
Because that was my last one for you. So
okay, then I'll give you. I guess we can just kind of make it like a dual question, just like hopes for the podcast. Are you enjoying it so far? What are your thoughts?
I hate it. I hate it a lot.
I freaking hate it. No, just I guess parting thoughts. How do you feel about this?
Well, I mean, we kind of talk about it a lot in every ending of our episode. Like we always talk about, like, hey, we're loving what we're doing and everything, and what we're, trying, where we want to get to, as far as where the podcast is going. But maybe we can pivot into saying, some of the things that we're fine. Well, let me see because I don't want it to word the same way, but it's with our recent episode is we are finding that okay, so just to be straight up and honest, right, let's just talk about what we're experiencing with feedback. One of the things is for since our first episode, we've been kind of doing a group of topics. First we were starting with 3 different areas that we were talking about. It was personal development, we were talking about comics and movies, and then also video games, which is a lot of stuff to unpack, and not everybody can had the attention span for it. So changed that, went to video games, and then we talk a lot about different types of video games, even like the upcoming news, what we're enjoying, and also a little bit of reviews here and there. and still a lot of information to unpack.
Yeah,
And
right, yeah.
so now what we found is um, honing in on a particular subject, and we are going to try doing that because we got a little bit more feedback from the previous episode we just uploaded, which was the basically a Silent Hill 2 a good game. You know,
Yeah.
that's
Was it good? Yeah.
yeah, was it good? And a lot of we had comments on there that they were saying because we had mentioned a particular entity in that episode, which you had to go and listen to, that was not a lot of people talk about. And
Yeah.
so we got feedback saying like, oh yeah, that person, like that's one of my favorite figures in the series. And so we were like, okay, so they love these segments where it's mainly honed into a particular subject, which was Silent Hill in that episode. Um, so the next episode, I think that's what we're trying to find that people are liking, and we might just deviate or not deviate, but kind of steer in that direction of maybe picking something that we will kind of expand on. And so with Schlater being really good at the lore of things, which I think our next episode maybe should be Call of Duty and talking about the story, because this is something I can learn off of. I totally forgot, like, the retrospective of the Call of Duty franchise of the Black Ops, actually. As I'm playing through a lot of the campaign on this one, on Black Ops 6, there's a lot of things that I totally forgot happened in the previous games. So I think that might leave a little bit of room for us to kind of dive deep into that and see what people think.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, yeah. The just to piggyback off of that, it's a I want the people to know we're having a lot of fun. This is great. We kind of talked about it, doing this, and then we find one day we just executed it. We did episode 1, and then that episode we even started with like a little bit of like a little bit of a blooper, if you will. But we're like, you know what? The cameras, like the mics are on, it's recording, let's do it, like we're gonna do this anyway, let's have fun. And it's a lot of fun, and I want the people to know that we're trying new things, we're trying different formats, just to become more efficient and to give more value for the time that you're investing in watching and listening to us. So thank you from the bottom of my heart to everyone who's watching. Thank you to the people who have commented, and obviously thanks to friends and family who have input on this process. I personally, as a personal goal, want to do more outreach. Definitely want to speak more to people who do like the show. Definitely do more networking, communication. I do want to build a following for us, and we do have a small one, but I want to continue to develop that, especially I think in the YouTube realm. And if we get into streaming, which I think we will, I do want to increase our followership into the realm of streaming, whether it be by YouTube or Twitch or TikTok gaming.
Yeah.
So different ways to reach out to people. That's my personal goal.
Yeah, I'm thinking that we can save a lot of those variety of topics for like live streams, so that we can talk with people. And because the biggest thing I want is feedback, and I want to hear what people have to say, because I mean there's a lot of people out there that haven't been heard, that maybe love the topics that we're talking about. And since our videos are recorded and just put out there, I mean, yeah, they can go and comment, but still, like, I'd rather have like a real-time basis of people giving us feedback right there and then, because that's how I like to operate that way. Because when you're asking me questions on the fly, I can definitely come up with a lot of things in my head of how to describe an answer to it. And if people are coming up with all these unique kind of questions, or even just telling us like, hey, oh, I remember that game, like, oh, what'd you think about that game, and then kind of bring them into the conversation and make them feel like they're a part of the show, instead of it feeling like they're just an audience. But that's kind of what I'm hoping to get out of it. But yeah, man, I mean, it's been great.
It's been great. It's only gonna get better. It's only gonna get better. And this was fun. This was a fun little episode. I do appreciate you doing it. I think this was a fun little thing for us and for everyone who's watching.
Yeah, so hopefully y'all have learned a lot about us now. We have barely just scratched the surface on what we are all about, even though we've been going on. How long has that been going on now? This is about, what, like an hour and a half?
Since
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So and there's still a lot of things in my head that I want to get out, but obviously there's not enough time to do it. So we will save it for maybe when we do the live stream. We'll bring y'all in with us, and we'll kind of have y'all ask us questions and grill us about certain things, and hope to get some feedback that way. But
Absolutely.
if do you have anything else you want to add before we close this?
No, not at all. Ready to close.
All right, man. Cool. Well, thanks everybody for coming in and watching this. And so y'all have a great night, morning, afternoon, whenever y'all listen to this. And y'all take care.
Take care. Bye bye.
Take care.